Ready?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'd like to call to order the regularly scheduled meeting for January 21st of the Sylvania Township Board of Trustees at 6 p.m.
We'll call the roll. Mr. Crandall? Here. Mr. Mahoney?
Here.
Mr. Genoway?
Here.
Simcoe? Here.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Anybody have any corrections to the meeting minutes on January 8th?
I do not.
None.
Okay, we'll offer those minutes as presented.
It's moved by Mr. Mahoney and seconded by Mr. Crandall. All
Yes,
in favor?
please.
Aye.
Yeah, aye.
Okay, they're approved.
Okay. Do we have any additions or deletions to the agenda this
I have
evening?
none.
Okay. Hearing of the public, has anyone signed in?
Nobody signed in.
All right. On to Darrell.
Good evening.
Hi, Darrell.
I have the monthly report for December for the zoning department. We had 13 permits for the month at 4.1 million in value, and we ended the year with 426 permits at 41.5 million. So we're pretty much, well, we've got more permits in this past year than we did in the last two, but and then pretty good on the dollar value compared to last year, but still a little shy from 2011.
Sorry to interrupt. How many residential permits were pulled last year? Someone asked me that question recently, and
Well,
where is it?
it's the next
Okay.
thing below there.
Jumping the gun, sorry.
That's okay. There we go. Single-family dwelling permits for the year, we had 81. Last year we had 50. And last year had been our best year since 2007, so we upped that. It's 62% more permits than we had last year, and the dollar value is just under 20 million, and that was a little over 34% increase. So we have our work cut out for us this year. Zoning complaints. It's not surprising, the winter months are usually pretty slow on this. I don't know what was going on in December of 2011, but I don't know, maybe it was mild that year, I don't know, I don't remember. That must have been it. Okay, yeah, we had 6 complaints for the month, and then for the year we had 180, which is down a little bit from last year and quite a bit down from 2 years ago. Our monthly meetings, we didn't have anything on the agenda for any of our boards or for project plan review. And then just a few items of note, Genoa Bank, their zoning permits and sign permits were submitted and approved, and we had the groundbreaking ceremony on December 30th, as a couple of you were there. Jimmy John's, the zoning permits were submitted and approved, and Brown Automotive that's building a new building in the rear of their property, their permits were also submitted and approved. And as mentioned at the last meeting, the zoning map on the website has been updated with the most recent zone changes from the previous year. And that's all I have.
Looks good. Do we know any idea of when the car dealership is going to be starting for the CarMax? It was scheduled for this year?
That was going to be this year, 2014.
Okay. Just wondering if you had any updates.
I think they were planning on doing it about the same time or just after the big ODOT project at Central and Holland, Sylvania. Obviously, they don't really want to do it before that.
Yeah.
So I would look for it probably late spring, early summer.
Okay. Thanks, Darrell.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Darrell.
Thanks, Darrell. Next up is Greg, and
I asked him if he could just do a little synopsis on how we stand with the overtime and salt, that, so he also consider that.
Good evening. Recommending resolution number 14015, purchase a tandem truck chassis from the ODOT, Ohio Cooperative Purchasing Program. This total package will eventually include eliminating 2 of our older tandem dump trucks with 1 new tandem dump truck. So again, we're downsizing our fleet.
I'll offer Resolution 14-015, authorization of a tandem truck chassis.
Second.
All those in favor, Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genoway?
Yes.
Next resolution, 14016, recommending the purchase of a 550 chassis, and the low bid was from Kistler Ford at the number stated there. This will be a replacement of an older vehicle, a one-for-one, sort of speak, and this is what we call a one-ton dump truck. It has the pickup truck chassis, sort of like to it. It's not the large plow trucks.
I'll offer Resolution 14-016, authorize the purchase of a truck chassis F500.
Second?
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genoway?
Yes.
The next item, I annually provide this for the board's review, is a summary of our previous year infrastructure repair. And as you can see, we were quite productive, specifically on the concrete curb repair. The information is just, for your review, and we're at OPWC, we're exceeded $5 million now, which is pretty decent during the life of that program. Really nothing more to comment other than, we have a highly trained workforce specifically on concrete repair, and it reflects on this report. Next item, I'd like to briefly chat about the severe winter. It's the good, bad, and the ugly. Last night's snowfall exceeded the record, so we're about 44 inches. The average is 36. The overtime, season to date, we're at $22,700. Last year, last winter's total snowfall, overtime cost was just over $4,000. So we're 5 times the cost on overtime. A lot of these storms are occurring on the weekends and holidays, which adds to the cost. Year before that, which is 2011, we're at $1,700, season to date. So, just to give you a synopsis, the good is that our equipment and manpower, the equipment's holding up great. The manpower is in good spirits, and we're not burning out. We maintain the 12 on, 12 off when we can, and we have great attendance on all of this. The salt usage, this year we're well above what we used last year total. Last year we purchased 1,600 tons, and I don't have the exact figure of what we've used so far, but you can expect 1,600 tons just season to date. So we probably could use another 1,000 ton, and we have that down at the salt docks. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe in April I report that our salt usage was 2,500, tons. The 2012, again, we used 1,200 ton for the whole season.
Hey, Greg, the beet juice that you guys put down, is that in lieu of salt, or what's the difference? Could you put that down instead of salt? Is that cheaper than salt, or?
The beet juice will lower the salt temperature, the working temperature. Salt's only effective till about 13 or 15 degrees. The beet juice added to the salt will lower the salt working to about 0 or 5 degrees.
So you're still putting the beet juice down, but you couldn't do one or the other?
Just straight salt alone will not be as effective. If we add the beet juice, the salt's much more effective.
Okay.
To spray beet juice specifically straight to the pavement.
Right.
Only in certain applications.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
If it's called burning it off, and some communities are actually doing that with a mixture of salt brine. So,
Well, you guys have had your work cut out for you this year, and I know through the emails and stuff that I'm seeing, the residents do appreciate all your efforts, and hopefully this stuff will slow down, but I don't see it happening in the next 2 weeks, so
Yeah.
good luck.
okay, thank you.
Yeah. Great job, Greg.
I, for one, am getting a little tired of this. Shoveling the snow in my driveway. I'm too old for that. Next up is the Fire Department, and Deputy Chief Ram is stepping in for Chief Kowalski.
Good evening, guys.
Mike?
We too are not happy with the weather. We've already had one fire when it was 40 degrees below zero here in December, or 1st of January, and then I just came from an incident where we were out for almost 2 hours in the weather already today, so they're still in good spirits like Greg's guys. Starting off, when we started looking at our run responses and total numbers, you guys, when you look at that page that's up there, I've already spoken with Mr. Crandall about the difference between the incidents and responses, and if you scroll down, it'll give you some year-to-date numbers. The problem with some of our year-to-date numbers is if you go from page 2 to page 3, you'll see page 3 is empty. If you remember, at the start of last year in January, we went to a different documenting software. It was called ETI, that was part of the Lucas County CAD system, and we have since switched back to our firehouse that we used prior to. I've been working with the guys for the last 3 weeks. We are now up and running on the old new system. We went to Firehouse, did an upgrade, went with the cloud, so it's going to be we're going to have a lot better data. We can run a heck of a lot better reports, and it does a lot better with documenting true numbers. The ETI has been a nightmare. I've been in charge of it since I got promoted in March, and as you can see, I have no hair left. So, but it's been a nightmare. I'm not much of a computer person, but the problems that we have experienced have been 20-fold. I never, ever expected that once a county-wide system tried to do something like that, we'd have the problems that we've had. Now, we have been entering since January 1st into the firehouse. We have not had any problems at all yet. So come February, you'll see the number totals will be much better, and they'll be much clearer, because we can pull a lot better reports from it.
Was the entire county, did they experience the same difficulties?
Absolutely. The only department that's still interested in going to it is Toledo, and they have not yet once entered an EMS report. Ourselves, Springfield, White House, Maumee, have all gone back to Firehouse. So, and like I said, I spearheaded trying to get the ETI up and running, and that was a debacle. But Firehouse switching over and doing all the new upgrades has been wonderful. Nothing but good stuff from the guys. And like I said, the data will be 100% better than what we were able to get out of ETI.
Hey, Mike, can I?
Yes, sir.
Ask a question?
Sure.
If it says Station 1 incidents, 2, and then responses, Station 1, 7, what's that? What is that?
Again, that's the data, the ETI numbers. You'll get a number out of Firehouse for the fire runs, and then you get a number out of ETI, and
shouldn't it be 7-7?
Sure should be.
Okay, all right, I got it.
Yep. And that's the way when we ran the reports, that's how the numbers came out. That's part of the nightmare we've been dealing with. When we have people call in, like lawyers and that, and want a run report so that they have the information, I have to call down to the county prints it, and the county then sends it to us. We can't even get our own information out of ETI. Whereas with Firehouse, we have access to it with a push of a button, it prints out for us.
Got it.
So it's been, honestly, I know you guys have had a hard time with it, but we've actually, I think we've done all of our departments and you guys a justice by going back to Firehouse. I truly do. We'll see much better numbers. We're already seeing that, so. Okay, does that answer, Neil?
Good stuff. Yeah, thanks, Mike.
When I seen that too, it's like, and I got to present this, and it says 2 and 7. Page, let's see here. Page 4, we had some mutual aid. As you see, we had 7 requests for transports from Springfield and 1 mutual aid transport from Toledo in December. And we also had an incident at 5156 Spring Street where Springfield Township filled in while we handled the cooking fire. So that's your 1 number from there. Next would be your community risk reduction. I'm not going to read all the numbers to you. Everybody can, they were very busy. We were completing up all the rest of the commercial building inspections. And also, if you look at the one on the bottom paragraph, we had an incident with one of our larger companies here in town. The state fire marshal's office came in and they closed the building down, actually padlocked the whole building, and the state fire marshal, Chief Freilich, the prosecutor's office have all been back to the business a couple of times trying to come up with a solution to being able to get that building and the business to meet the codes and also hopefully get that business back up and running. So their material was way over that they had in the building, way over what the state code mandated they were allowed to have. So that's part of what was with that. Next, we had the Lucas County EMS, the continuing education. We do not train in December. They give the medics December off. However, we did do a lot of internal in-house training. The one that was the most important, if you can scroll down just a little bit, it was called Mayday training. That's when a firefighter gets in trouble in a building. That's the call that gets put out as a Mayday. All the radios get put on silence and only the incident commander and the person in trouble communicates so that we can go in there and get them out. So, but that's very, very important training that the guys spent quite a few days on, and it's really important. So, let's see. Next, we have a really good comment from Toledo Hospital. STEMI is when our guys, I'm not sure if you're aware, but all of our paramedics are capable and have the training and the equipment to read 12-lead EKGs just as if a doctor in the emergency room does. What we're working on now and what Toledo Hospital, St. V's, and St. Luke's and UTMC are working on is what's called a STEMI bypass. When we call a STEMI, which a STEMI is a cardiac event that meets all the STEMI criteria, and the guys, that's all based on vitals, it's based on what they find on the 12-lead patient's past medical history. They can call a STEMI to the hospital. As soon as they call a STEMI, the cardiac team comes, checks the 12-lead, and then they automatically kick the cath lab up and running. And if you look at this lady, and actually we're very fortunate, we were the very first ED bypass STEMI for Toledo Hospital. They received the STEMI at 1323, and by 1420, the first device of the activation in the cath lab. So, I mean, compared to what time when you go into the emergency room and an emergency room doctor checks you, and then they do a 12-lead there, I mean, you could be in the emergency room for an hour. Now they're going off the education and the experience that the guys have on the street, and they can Bluetooth a copy of their 12-lead that they took at that patient's side at home to the hospital. The doc there reads it, and then they meet us at the front door of the emergency room and take them right to the cath lab now. So big up-and-coming stuff that's, I mean, this is going to be, this will be really good for our community. And for our squad to be the first one to do it at Toledo Hospital is another pat on the guy's back, and apparently she's doing pretty well. So, next we had a nice comment from the schools. The guys went out and did, again, for Fire Prevention Week, they did a lot of talking with all the preschool age kids and all the kids all the way up through high school, and this was a nice comment back from Jane Jacobson. that the guys had spent some time in there, and actually the kids got something out of it, which that's exactly why we're there. If we can get one kid to get a little bit out of what we're there for, then it's awesome. Next, you'll find another thank you from Molly Chapman, if you can scroll down a little bit. This was a young lady that turned 101, and the guys got invited to her birthday party, believe it or not. And if you can scroll down, it appears that the young lady had a heck of a good time. I spoke with the crew too, and to be honest, they had a great time too. There's actually, I think there's like 5 or 6 really good photos. She actually helped the guys hold the hose, and grandkids got involved, and great-grandkids, and they had a heck of a good time over outside her residence. And then the very last thing that I got to present, again, is another pat on the guy's back. Actually, I was present on this incident also. We're not going to name any names or anything, but we had what we call a near drowning of a 2-year-old that by the time I got there, the guys had him breathing as best he could, had a weak pulse. He had wandered over to the neighbors and fell into the pool, the house next door. We were told about a week or 2 later that things weren't looking good and the outcome was probably going to be terrible. However, on December 21st, we received this note from his grandma. He's doing fantastic. And she actually, if you scroll down just a little bit, she actually calls the guys earth angels. And then, she talked about how, her prayers were met, and, I think all the guys on the scene's prayers were met, because when we get there and we find something like that, we're praying too. The guys are very smart, they know what they're doing, they get right to work, but we still have to do a little bit of that too. And all of them, what we normally do, you guys, with these is anytime we get these, we take a copy and they go into their personnel files, but I also send out something, a little bit of, good job, keep up the good work, you're doing what we were all put here to do, so.
Great story.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is really an awesome story. And here recently, we've had 2 cardiac arrest saves that you'll probably hear more about next month, so. Okay, questions? All right,
Thank you.
thanks.
Great report.
Great job.
Thank you, Chief. Next up is Chief Bowman with his monthly report.
All I have to say about the weather is I appreciate my office a whole lot more. No more midnights out there jumping over guardrails on High Chaparral as the cars are sliding toward me, so I do appreciate my office. I'll make this very, very brief because you have the numbers in front of you and such. You'll see page 2, we have the calls into the station divided up. That's 8,087 total calls into dispatch, all added together. Page 3, our stats, again, I won't read off the stats. The one thing I'll note on page 3 is we had a good year. Even though we do have our what do I want to say, our cycles of activity and such, we're down in every category, just about every category, except thefts, and we've talked about that before with the heroin use in the community and some things like that, but we're down in almost everything, which is very, very good. Page 4, because it's the end of the year report, you can see our 4 major categories. It's a bar graph where we stack up to the prior years. Page 5, again, our detective caseload statistics. There were 81 cases, which is kind of high for the month that were assigned, but we usually do see activity pick up. I expect here in January with this cold weather and stuff, except for the accidents, we'll probably be way down. Page 6, just DEA task force. There wasn't a whole lot of activity there for that month. Page 7, just a few community affairs type activities. A number of us, myself included, participated in the Shop with a Hero, which is very rewarding with the fire department at Myers, and then the Shop with a Cop at Walmart, which is really neat. These kids' faces just really light up, and their parents are also so appreciative, and, I think it's very, very important. I've always believed very strongly, back when I went into schools, to have that good first impression. You don't want kids to be afraid of a policeman or what, and so it really is very effective that way. And page 8, just one thing of note. One thing I'll say is and I know you already would, but if you guys ever receive any kind of complaints about traffic issues or whatever, you can see we had no direct calls in the station, which isn't surprising. It's pretty hard to go 45 on a residential when it's all ice and such, but so it was easy that way for us. But if you get any kind of complaints or make any kind of observations, please forward them along to us as soon as possible, and we'll jump on it. Because we've got some money invested in a speed trailer, and we're actually looking at another one here where we can capture data and actually work with Greg a little bit as far as traffic volumes and some things like that, which I think would be very helpful. Page 9, you can see our K-9 unit. It continues to be somewhat busy. I think he'll be a lot more productive in the warm weather months. But then he's done some presentations and such at schools and things that I think have been very good and very effective. And actually, I'm going to reach out to Superintendent Brad Rieger here in the near future and offer up presentations in the schools and maybe doing some kind of overall marching the dog through the high schools and such, and as a deterrent kind of thing. I think he may be receptive to that. And then page 10, 11, and 12, it just documents our training for the entire year. And there's some numbers. And total, you can see on the last page, we actually had 2,381 hours worth of the training divided up amongst our 43 officers. So with that, pretty brief, not a whole lot. I'm here if you have any questions or any issues.
Chief, I appreciate Nancy and you guys getting this on the website so early, so the public can take a look at it too, so thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Yeah.
Those crime maps are on the website too, which are kind of neat because you can really see the location of the majority of the reports and such. And as I said before, Walmart could be a district in its own.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is administrator, and the first one I have is a review of a liquor license ownership transfer. This is the Fairways Restaurant is under a new owner, and they're just transferring the liquor permit from the old owner to the new one. The police department and fire department have reviewed the application, and neither one has a problem with it. And once again, this is one of those situations where if it's okay with you, we do nothing.
Okay, great. Good.
Next item is a discussion of funding request. We have 3 requests. I think Susan has given you a spreadsheet with the request on there and past amounts we have given. Last year, this does not include the fireworks because that will come up later in the year. Last year, including the fireworks, we allocated $24,937. We had budgeted $30,000. This year, we also budgeted $30,000. So it's up to the board to make a determination then.
Do I make a if I was to make do I make a resolution, or how do we vote on that?
You make a recommendation, and then if you want to do each one individually, or you could do all 3, make a recommendation, and then we do the resolution, or whoever wants to do the numbers.
See attached, like we've done with the board
Yeah.
things, if
Yeah.
we just do them all 3 at once.
And it's all within the budget, so I'd make a recommendation that we, if you guys want to do it individually, or I could do all 3, whatever's.
I say we just put them all 3 together.
All 3 together?
18, then. Resolution 18.
Resolution 18?
14-018.
I'll offer resolution 14-018.
And the amounts, you want to...
To approve the amount shown for the 3,
What amount?
I'm sorry?
What amount shown where?
Where were you looking?
Attached.
That was a request.
Oh, the request, oh, okay. Got it, I see what you're saying.
I didn't get one of those. Did you get one sometime?
Okay, so I guess maybe we should do it, individually then, huh?
Well, we need to discuss them individually, and then we'll pass it at one motion.
Okay, got it.
Sylvania Area Family Services, they requested, what was it, 30,000?
30,000.
And last year, and this, well, what do you plan on, what do you think a good funding level would be this year?
I'd like to see us increasing somewhat,
Thanks, Susan.
not a lot. I sent you a memo. I looked over all three applications. I've suggested to John that we be a little more clear on what we're looking for on the apps as to other support in the community, in-kind service values, volunteer hours. And I think John's going to follow up with that, with each agency. I think we can simplify this quite a bit in looking over the three apps. For Sylvania Family Services, I would recommend $11,000, $1,000 more than last year.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. And then,
Sylvania Arts Commission,
Sylvania Arts Commission, if you look at my summary, it's really a city function. We have supported it. I don't believe we have an appointment there, correct?
On the Arts Commission, I do not think we do.
No, we do not. And, but I think we could, I think last year it was 2,000. I would recommend 2,250.
they do a great, I think they do a nice job. I'm okay with that.
yeah, I do, I like them. Not that matters.
And then SCAT. Which, let me see.
I think that one was 3,000
Yeah.
last year. And I'm thinking about 3,250. Bump that one.
Okay.
And I think maybe John will have a better comparison next year for us.
And can any of the police monies be utilized for SCAT? If there's something we could look at later or something like that? Okay.
One thing with SCAT, Mike, if you would let the chief know, he heads up that organization right now, and Chief Bomey is an active member of Sylvania Area Family Services, so I appreciate the extra time they both put in for those organizations.
One thing, if I could, I'd like to mention about SCAT is they really help us do our job, and they actually fund a lot of our overtime to go out and do party patrols and compliance checks, checking carryouts in the different places to make sure that they aren't selling to underage and that sort of thing. So, we work hand in hand with them, and they fund a lot of our personnel costs and such in putting those programs together.
Okay.
So now we make a motion.
We make a motion to approve those levels at the attached schedule?
That'd be good.
Second?
Yeah. So who made the motion there, Neil?
Sure.
I'll second.
Okay. We'll have a vote then. Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes. Now, Sister City, do they have a request in, or how do they operate? I know they came to us last year.
As you recall, they came to us late last year with I'll call it an emergency funding request.
Yeah.
We haven't received anything as far as community funding allocation.
Okay.
Once again, that request last year was kind of a, I want to say emergency, but a last minute, like
And it
fill in
was
the gap.
fairly low down.
Yeah.
And the fireworks, I I mean, I
Yeah,
assume
we're
that
gonna
we'll
wait-
continue to support them like we have in the
Right,
past. And what was that dollar amount?
Last year, it was $9,937, and what the agreement has been is that whatever the fireworks cost is at the top, and then any private funding that comes off that cost, and then what's left is divided equally between the city and the township.
Okay.
So last year, I think they got about $8,000 or $9,000 in private donations, and then the remainder was split between the city and township. So that's why I don't have a number in there, but we do have adequate funding within reason for the fireworks and with these amounts you just given.
I worked with Mike Brown last year, and John, if you wouldn't mind helping us this year with that, but we went out to the private sector and asked for monies to help offset that. We saved thousands.
I think we got about 9,000 in private donations. I think.
Yeah, so there's, 4,500 that we saved as a result going privately. It worked out pretty, it's slowly gaining momentum, and, Waterville almost gets that deferred completely by going out to the private sector, so.
I did get an email.
There's a meeting on the 28th, Mr. Crandall and I both sit on it, and I'll ask what the intention is.
I did get an email from Mike Brown, and he asked, did we want to have representation with him to go out? And I said, I certainly defer to his, he's been doing it quite a while. I said, but
Yeah, Mike did a great job.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not
think
here.
he does most of the
He did
legwork,
most of
and
it, yeah.
I said, keep us informed if you need our help or need us to hit up some businesses in our community to keep us posted. But
Yeah.
if we all maybe want to touch base with him and see if we can help.
Great idea.
Okay.
Thank you. Next up is Fiscal Officer, Mr. Simcoe.
Well, you saw in your packet, you received a month-end analysis, and that's the end of the year, by the way, and so we're usually speculating on the numbers, and now we've actually got, numbers in, and you can see the revenues for 2013 are good. We have our projections, and then, where we end up kind of coming in, and some things you can't, we didn't predict, for example, the general fund would have that much additional money in it or coming in, but sometimes you have things that occur, and for example, some estates came in, and that helped bump up in part the general fund.
Right. There's
Now,
about
unfortunately,
$800,000 extra.
yeah, that we did not really plan on, of course, and so that's good for us. I guess it depends on, how you got it.
Timing is everything.
There's two sides to the issue here, Somebody died, and so we end up getting some money in that, but, and also Road and Bridge was up a bit, and police and fire did well too on revenues, but the thing to really look at, I think, is what we can control a lot more, because our revenue kind of is what it is, with levies that are passed and taxpayer money coming in. It's pretty predictable, actually, and that especially in the police and fire and even really the roads, but where things can be controlled, or we can have an impact is in the expenditures. And so if you really look at our 2013 expenditures, what you can see they're 82, 80, roughly 94 and 95% of what we budgeted. And so I think that's a really good thing, because it shows that we're budgeting, I think, well, but the departments are doing a good job of working hard to control, justify expenditures. And then we talk about that, monthly when we review these reports. And and as I've said before, I think what's happened is in days gone by, years ago, this wasn't the case, and there was much more struggling, difficulties between, the leadership, the trustees, and the administration, and the folks out there working in the departments and that. And in the last several years, we've gotten better and better at having a common purpose, I think, with the trustees and administrators. But what's been beneficial to us is that the employees have really kind of got with this and on board, and the leadership in the departments are helping to get people to understand that and work with them, and they believe us because we're very transparent with the employees on what we do and where our money comes from, and so they, they really believe our numbers because they're the true numbers, so we're not, and that's really a tribute to John Zeitler and the department heads that are communicating these things. And so our expenditures are down, and we didn't budget up, and actually in 13, as you guys know, we actually reduced our budget some, and we're still doing well. And so we have to be thankful for that. So I think, again, good numbers. You can look down at below that total revenues and total expenditures and year-end fund balances. The only one that, needs just very brief comment is the fire fund, and you can see that our expenditures exceeded our revenues there, and that's a function of really levy funds decreasing because of the more recent, fire levies that we've had. They're bringing in less money for us, so that's something that I think we need to be mindful of. Our year-end balances, I asked John to get this for me, in 2011, we had a roughly 2.3 year-end balance, or beginning fund balance, in 2012, 2.7, in 2013, about 2.9, but in 2014, as you can see, we're dropping down a bit because levy proceeds aren't coming in as well, because based on reevaluations of property in this relatively recent levy. And you can see I have a number for 15, what it's going to look like, and that's going to be about 1.2 million. We're dropping down about $1 million, plus dollars in receipts. And so, John, you might have some additional comments on that, John Zeitler.
Yeah, that's correct. And as you know, levy dollars can only go down, they can't go up because of the revaluation. And so, because of the revaluation, we're getting actually less dollars than we originally planned on. The fire department, to their credit, has done all they can to control expenses, but once again, we're at the mercy of gas prices and equipment. So as you can see, right now, it looks like in 2015, we'll start the year with $1.2 million, which is almost $1,100,000 less than the year before. Going at this rate, and it's been no secret, we have talked about that the fire fund will be running out of money during 15, and that will necessitate some revenue enhancement or expenses, cutting expenses, and we'll be working together with the trustees and administration on figuring out, if we need a levy and when we should have a levy and the amount of the levy.
What was the revenue for the fire fund in 12?
The revenue, I think that's, Jim, is that on your report, or that's just,
Spreadsheet.
No, it's not on this report here.
okay, I can get that number for you.
I was just curious, because I'm coming up with, that revenue was down about 800,000 from 12 to 13?
No, 13 to 14. Wait, which?
For the fire fund?
Yeah, I can, if you want.
That's okay. I can find out later.
I would not disagree with your statement.
Okay, looking at these numbers that I wanted to see. Okay.
And one thing, backing up a little bit, is Mr. Simcoe speaking about the general fund. This year, the estate tax has been phased out by the state, but anybody that died before 2012, if they had a estate, we would still be eligible for that. And in 2013, we got about a $800,000 increase than we originally planned on. And under the direction of the elected leadership, we did not spend any of that additional revenue. We put that in our reserve to help carry us out for the next few years. We could have easily increased our budget and spent that money, but through your wise guidance, we put that money in reserve, so maybe can go out for another couple of years, living within our budget.
Is it review time? Because I don't think I've been scoped that well for a long time.
Okay, Mr. Zeitler, that's a good note for you to finish on there. I just had a couple of quick resolutions for us to take a look at. The first one is Resolution 14-014, Transfer of Appropriations. And at the last meeting, we passed a resolution to approve some changes in Fire Station Number 1, and this is just following up on these changes. And so it's a Resolution 14-014.
I'll offer Resolution 14-014, transfer of appropriations for Fire Station 1.
Second,
Okay, call the roll, Mr. Crandall,
yes.
Mr. Mahoney,
Yes.
Mr. Genowine.
Yes.
And last resolution is this it here? Oh, yes, it's Resolution 14-017, and it's to approve payments made on then and now purchases. As you know, during the course of the year, these periodically pop up whenever we're comfortable with them. But we've had very few this year on then and now certificates, and this is basically at year end, and this is inevitable. It has to occur. Something can come in on the 31st or 30th, and you can't process it in time. And so I have this Resolution 14-017 regarding then and now certificates that we need a motion and a second on.
I'll offer Resolution 14-017.
I'll second it.
Okay, we'll call the roll. Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
And that, all done?
Nice work, Dave.
Yes. I think those are great numbers.
Yeah, great job.
Yep.
Thank you.
Do we have anybody sign in for non-agenda items?
Nope.
Okay, so I would like to offer a motion to adjourn at 6:47.
You have a second? Mr. Crandall. Okay, we'll call the roll. Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Thank you.
You noticed that, huh? I came right from there.